Hello, everybody. I am glad to be here. Sort of. I usually kind of stay away from large groups, especially big crowds like this. Well, you all have been great. Thank you. But actually, I am rather introverted. I grew up in a house with a lot of noisy siblings, so I got used to spending a lot of time outdoors. I'm kind of like that today also, but now I have a bunch of noisy grandkids. They are very energetic, so when they visit, I have to cut out all distractions. I will turn off the computer, cut off the phone. My favorite thing to do when they visit is to head up to the mountains, take a nice nature walk. Sometime I might even bring one or two of them with me. But as an introverted kid, I learned that I could get away with stuff. Kind of flew under the radar. People would ignore me. Started thinking I was pretty clever. I especially like pulling things over on teachers and other adults. Went to the drive-in movies once with a couple of friends. One of them hid in the trunk of the car to avoid paying the hefty 50-cent ticket price. I decided to one-up him, so I walked in through the exit. I mean, who's going to think of that, right? Apparently, the motorcycle cop just inside the gate had thought of that, yeah. Ordered me on the back of his bike, took me up to the front. And luckily, I was a couple of weeks shy of turning 17, so I could not be arrested. But he did order me to call home. Not a very happy prospect. I dialed the number really slowly. Prayed that no one would answer. And luckily, my big sister, Mindy, picked up. "Don't tell Mom," I said. Explained what was going on. "I'm on my way," she said. "Don't worry." "Thank you, Mindy." A couple of minutes later, here she comes. I practically run to the passenger side of the car, open the door, plop down, right on Mom's lap. But I learned three important things that night. First, next time I want to go to the drive-in movie, just hide in the trunk. Second, don't trust Mindy. And the third lesson is probably the biggest one. Never trust Mindy. Well, years later, I was still trying to get away with things. I thought I could outsmart the world. In fact, I traveled a lot. I went to Greece once, met a girl in Athens named Vaso, and she showed me around, helped me learn Greek. We were having a good time, so I invited her to join me on a trip to Mykonos. "I'd like to," she said, "but my parents won't approve." She lived at home. Her dad was a Greek Orthodox priest, very, very strict. And then she said, "Maybe I could go if I tell them we're engaged." Whoa. "Hey, I mean, do what you got to do," I said. Well, a couple nights later, she invited me for dinner at the family home, and it turned out to be our engagement party. When her dad came over and started reciting a blessing, I just thought it was over the food, but then he pulled 2 gold rings out of his pocket. They were engraved with our names. Yeah, that was awkward. I think Vaso saw me turning green or something because she leaned in and whispered, "Don't worry, just play along." Well, so I did. And her mom, who spoke very little English, came over and kind of tugged me over to the phone and said, "Call Mother." Oh, no, no, many drachmas, we don't want to do that. She just pointed at that phone. Call. Well, I dialed the number very slowly. I prayed no one would answer. I especially prayed Mindy wouldn't answer. Well, this time my mom picked up, and in a very hushed tone, I explained what was going on. And I guess that satisfied Vasso's parents, because the next day they insisted that I check out of my hotel and move in with the family. I did. Yeah. But then finally we got to go to Mykonos. And that was spectacular. It was a beautiful island, great beaches, gorgeous women. I mean, I couldn't talk to any of them because I was engaged. Well, on the way back to Athens, I decided that I had to break up with her, and I started sort of planning that in my head. And at dinner that night, Vasso translated as her parents invited us to join them, invited me in particular to join them on their annual trip to Zakynthos for the long Easter holiday. A month on another beautiful island? Okay, the breakup could wait. Well, it turned out that my brother and a couple of his buddies were going to be in Crete for their spring break. So I left Zakynthos for a few days to join them. On the way there, I stopped for a night at the family's home in Athens. And I got to thinking about how in Zakynthos, Vasso and her mom had been discussing wedding plans. Talked about us living in the U.S. Yeah. Well, I would turn to Vasso when this would happen, and I would say, I think this is kind of going too far. And she would just say the same thing. Don't worry, just play along. Then I got to thinking, the first time Vasso had mentioned us living in the U.S., her mom wasn't even in the room. So I made a mental note. Don't trust Vasso. The next morning, I wrote her a note. I placed the ring on top, and I left. I mean, it had to be done. But I was so anxious heading for the ferry to Crete. I kept looking around, expecting some motorcycle to come on, order me back on the bike, and take me back to Vasso or make me call home or something. But I did make it to Crete, finally free. I met up with the guys. We took a beautiful hike one day, and we ended up at a cafe in a little seaside village. And the waiter kept bringing us dishes that we hadn't ordered. Tasted great, but, we protested, and he would just say, enjoy, don't worry. Uh-oh, don't worry. I sort of expected him to lean in and whisper, just play along. Well, when the bill came, we had been charged for every single dish. Yeah, we were pretty outraged, so we just put down the money for what we had ordered and left. And then we noticed 4 really large men, including the waiter, trailing behind us. And our friend Simon stopped short and said, guys, I don't want to die tonight. Let's just pay him. He handed over a wad of drachmas. And later that night, we did the math. We'd been overcharged by $3. The name of that village, by the way, I want to get the Greek right. Sophakia. Seriously. Thank you.